A nation at risk, a generation lost in the shuffle, disenfranchised from their families, their faith, and their future. Our programs and social structures often fail to give them viable alternatives. We say, kids are bad, or Johnny can't learn, while we cling to old faiths and safe patterns which have proven unsuccessful with a nation at risk. We cling to the idea that it is us against them. It's time that we realize and act as though we are in it together.
I like school. I didn't like teachers. I liked learning. You know what I'm saying? I hated somebody telling me what to do and when to do it and how to do it, and that was the worst in junior high school. Forget about it. So my mother was going to sign me out like at 16 because it was killing her more than it was killing me. We were fighting. I mean, like fist fights. Me and my mother would get into fist fights, be rolling on the floor because of school. I hated it.
I was truant consistently before Bongo, and I had a hard time with school. I had a hard time with the drug scene, not only using, but being around that type of atmosphere.
Bongo is a program which was designed as a response to the needs of these at-risk students. It began in 1977 at Middle College, a public high school for at-risk students in New York City. The students who elect to enroll in Bongo meet for 3 periods per day and earn 3 required or elective credits. The program is interdisciplinary, team-taught, and builds a strong, positive, alternative peer group through final collaborative projects based on socially relevant themes. The program has had remarkable success. A 10-year study showed a 97% graduation rate as compared to a citywide rate of 65% in traditional high school.
I would have been seriously surprised if I ever finished school. I mean, I had no intentions of it. I wasn't planning on it. I would look for any and all excuses to get out of there. I didn't think I could make the distance, and it was unbearable. I mean, from my perspective, it was just completely unbearable.
And sometimes the problems get so big that I just can't think. And all through junior high school, I used that as an excuse not to function. And quite honestly, sometimes I couldn't. I really could not function, you know? And sometimes I did really stupid things as a result of, like cut out of school, get involved with the wrong guys, drink too much, things like that.
The at-risk population crosses economic, cultural, racial, and intellectual lines. Decaying family structure, substance abuse, and the influence of media in creating passive learners have affected adolescents not only in urban areas, but throughout the country.
Typically, our students come from single-parent families headed by a mother who has to take care of younger children or needs to work, or a combination of both, and really doesn't have the time to attend to the nurturing of the adolescent child. There's often an absence of the father or other positive male role models. And this is compounded, the problems are compounded further because the lure of the streets and the drug culture and the negative peer culture that exists, which often the students tend to identify more than with their own family. There's a sense that in many families it's do your own thing, come home when you want, and there isn't a real sense of identity. And we see the results. We see the results in kids dropping out of school, in drug addiction, in promiscuous sexual activity, and students' lives are quite often chaotic and unpredictable.
When confronted with these realities, some administrators have met with frustration in trying to modify traditional methodology. and have instead supported new learning models that restructure the classroom despite insecurities and change.
You have to be willing to take risks, a lot of them. You have to be willing to take the heat when somebody comes to complain, because people always will. You have to be like Admiral Nelson, and sometimes you have to put the telescope to a blind eye, because when you're doing a program like this, you don't know for certain that something is going to work until you try it. Since you're always doing something new, there are always dangers. You have to be very organized. You have to be careful. You have to be supportive.
The reason that we started Bongo 11 years ago was serendipitous. We had both been teaching in other schools, and we had not known each other. Had been coming from different disciplines, Paul from science and me from English. But we both had the same dissatisfaction with the way that students were coming to school.
Or actually not coming to school, yeah, like not coming to my classes. Or if they did come to my classes, they had no connection with most things I was doing.
Right. And not only was there no connection with what we were doing in class, but there was never any interconnection between classes. And so we would meet and we would talk about this. And we had both had successes, small successes, with things that were not necessarily part of the curriculum.
And every time we did those things, I was doing video production while I was teaching science. And students loved the video production part, but there was really not that much connection with the science. And certainly once they walked out of my classroom and went to all their other classes, they had very little connection with what was going on in the other classes.
And I had been doing theater totally by accident and found it incredibly successful, but then I had to give up teaching novels, teaching grammar, and teaching the usual curriculum as part of English.
At the same time, I found myself in science classes sometimes using novels that turned students on to themes in science, but then of course had to give up some of the science material. And I knew the science material was really important also. What we really want to do is we want to use theater because we saw students were interested in that. Students are always asking us, hey, you know, we hear you do theater. Can we do some theater? And we figured we could use that to get them interested in the science and the English, and not only that, but art and humanities and theater.
And we were going to make it personal, involving, engaging, and important to their lives so that they could begin to see that disciplines connected and that school was a part of life.
There are 5 elements that characterize the Bongo program: the project, a positive alternative peer group, themes which develop social consciousness, a personalized interdisciplinary curriculum, and team teaching.
The project has developed and changed from its beginnings back in 1977. When we first started doing large, extravagant theater pieces that were written by the students, we did it for the purpose of having students express themselves and share and communicate with an audience made up of both their peers, their family, and people from the educational and local communities, things that they had learned within the framework of themes. What we realized as we developed the program over the course of the years was that the project was the glue that held Bongo together, that it was the thing that allowed students to become responsible, conscientious, and not only to each other, but also to the work that we were studying in class.
Well, every aspect of the 3-month term would culminate into a play, but that's what it was all about. That's so everything you learned, you had to know in order to be able to do the play. So all the psychology, all the science, all the literature, all the everything.
Look, this dashiki is important to me, to the club.
Oh, dashiki. Damn club's got a dress code now, too?
Hey, it's part of my culture, okay?
My culture. Since when the hell are you so possessive, Shannon?
And since when are you so narrow-minded?
Well, since you decided this new culture trip of yours
It's not something we have in common.
We used to have a lot in common.
Why are you making this hard for me?
Oh, God, Shan, I'm trying to make it easy for you. I mean, look, you've never been involved in politics, right? There are a lot of issues you don't understand. You know, how are you going to make it out there?
I don't understand. And you do.
Although Bongo at Middle College has mainly utilized theater as its project, over the years Bongo has also published an oral history book, literary photography magazines, and a community newspaper. At other sites, collaborative projects such as developing computer networks, writing children's books, and opening school stores have all been successful because they were of interest to students and depended on the skills and personal talents of teachers.
We saw right from the beginning that it was the school's responsibility, our responsibility, to create a positive alternative peer group amongst the students. It wasn't okay just to say, students have very negative peer groups in their neighborhood, what can you do about that? In the beginning, we weren't very good at it. As a matter of fact, we had two peer groups, one that kind of aligned itself with Terry and one that kind of aligned itself with me, that were almost working against one another. But we worked it finally together after a while, that there was a strong peer group in the class that supported one another. It's very different to have teachers and administrators saying to students, you should be in school. That's very different than having students say to another fellow student, not only do we want you here, but we need you here.
I got up and I said, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that, and things went flying and forget it. And the reason for that was because I've never experienced everyone coming down on me saying, how come you weren't in class yesterday? You know, we needed you there, how come you weren't there? And I said, well, I don't care, I'll leave then, you know? And I was really angry. And then I thought about it and I said, well, you know, I said, let me stay another 2 weeks or whatever, another week. And then another person was absent. And I was mad because I was supposed to do something. And I said, now I understand why everyone came down on me. Why I wasn't there. I mean, when I wasn't there, everyone came down on me. Because they needed me there. They needed my input and my output, you know.
The Bongo program that we run, students can come to us, the teachers, as counselors, but more often they go to each other. We have interns that counsel as well as help students with the academic work, and we try to motivate them to believe that if they help each other and support each other with the work they have to do and with the problems that they have to deal with, that they'll all make it through together.
And then gradually, you know, you learn about each other, and you get each other's support. And by the end of the play, I mean, you've experienced a lot of things together. In my Bongo classes, we always had the class, then the class outside of the class. We always went out and we hung out a lot together. So we were a tight-knit family.
We are trying to change the way students think, and we're trying to make them see the connections between patterns in life. And so we study evolution and revolution, but not only in science, we study it in history, we study it in psychology, we study it in art, we study it in development of human behavior. And all of this is attached to the idea that if you understand the patterns that make us behave and make us feel in one way or another, that can be relevant to your environment and to your social impact on society.
For instance, a group like the Ku Klux Klan, everybody knows who they are and what they support and what they believe in. But what gives them to right, to protest and outwardly say, let's kill all niggers, let's kill the Jews, that white supremacy is the way to go?
Boy, this is a ripe issue. I'm really gonna love
But
it.
you know, a group like that's protected by the First Amendment.
But you see, you gotta remember, among the First Amendment, we have the rights to say what we feel. If you take those rights away...
Even though that offends somebody else, even though that it may offend the way I feel, or Terry or Paul, anybody
It
else.
offends the way I feel too.
Right.
But I can't really tell them, I can't really control their mouth. It's their own mind, it's their own thoughts.
The use of social issues. I think that that academically is their most powerful tool. By having students study academic subjects in order to make themselves more informed citizens so that they can become engaged in a social issue, that is, take on a cause, you are tapping what is most altruistic about teenagers, their need to have a perfect world and to make a contribution to the world, make a significant contribution to the world.
Tim and I got involved in the U.S. out of El Salvador thing, which was very interesting. It was my first taste of politics, really. We mostly just handed out leaflets and whatnot, but it was good to know that if you feel about something, that you can always do something about it, or try to do something about it.
Don't you have it?
Have what?
AIDS.
No. No, do you? Well, do you?
Do I what?
Do you have AIDS?
You think I have it, don't you?
No, I never said that. I don't know if you have it or not. All I know is I don't have it. And what makes you so holy that you can ask me all these questions? What about you? If you don't have it, what are you doing here? And why are you trying to make me feel so miserable?
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I know how it is to feel that way. Just trying to be your friend.
Trying to be my friend? You are weird. Should have never come here.
No, baby. I'm not weird. I'm dying.
Well, not me. I'm not gonna die.
Oh, yeah? What, do you think you can't get it? Listen, lady, don't fool yourself. You can get it just as easily as anybody else can. You don't want to sit next to somebody who has it.
No.
You think I'm dying, right? You think I'm gay. Which is worse, dying or being gay?
I don't know.
And it helped me accept more that there are so many people out there. And I don't think that if I think I would have been very distant if I, met people then with AIDS. And I think I would have been very distant, very afraid, but it helped me more to accept that they have it and that, that you can't get a disease from touching or hugging or, it's not all their fault most of the time, I mean, of course, it's not their fault they don't want it, but they're people too, they're human too, and you can't treat them as lepers, as many people do.
When we talk about interdisciplinary curriculum in Bongo, I think there's two things that separate it out from most models of what interdisciplinary curricula are. First, that we're not talking about the typical things that are almost already related to one another. People do English and social studies together. It's real easy. They do science and math. What we've done is we've tried to bridge larger gaps or larger areas. We've done art, physical education, literature, and science. We've done Eastern philosophy and biology and pottery, all in the same term, and allow the students to use their synthesizing and analytical skills to pull these together. And the interdisciplinary part is truly done at the same time. Terry is not in an English classroom teaching English and then the students move over to my class and do science, although we started that way, and boy, was that terrible. In addition to that, the material needs to be personalized. Whether we're studying history, whether we're studying literature, whether we're studying art or social studies, every single item that we study, and literally every item, and that's the tough part, needs to be related back to something that happens in the students' daily lives.
You think I like knowing that someone raped you? No, I don't. It gets to me, all right? But I just can't take this. I can't take the denial. Why you aren't just speaking to me anymore? Please.
Give me some space, all right? Having the two subjects together helped me get through it. Okay. I mean, I don't have any aptitude for science. I don't like it. And English is easier for me to deal with. So if you give me a book that's interesting and has, a lot of literature in there that I'm going to find interesting, and meanwhile slip some science in there, I'll be able to deal with it a lot better than just hand me a biology book and ask me to study it. And keeps conversation in a way that I can understand it. I mean, don't throw me a bunch of words that I'm not going to get. And also, you use both in the plays. I mean, it's not just all biology. It's a lot of psychology that you have to use in the plays. You have to use it. I mean, people have motivations for doing stuff, and they're thinking a certain thing. When you're writing the plays, and it's dealing with people, so you have to know what they're thinking.
If you were studying, the overall thing was an ecosystem. Okay, you study different types of ecosystems. One would be, I remember biking to a park and picking up marine biology specimens, and then biking them back, and then analyzing them in the lab. And then what he was trying to show, and then he linked us to politics and how we as a species operates under an ecosystem, and tried to link that to politics. And then they tried all these little courses, they linked them together to fit the overall theme. And then we got to write a play, research a play or think about the play, write it, and then actually do it. So on the day-to-day basis, you were getting actual results, you were getting actual things. Little projects, and if all the little projects are working together, the big project works together.
We are tampering with natural selection, the natural choice of animals to mate and reproduce randomly. In so doing, we might eliminate all types of things.
Will eliminate the disease?
Yes, but we may also eliminate blonde hair, certain muscular abilities, immunities to diseases we just don't know.
We will eliminate the disease, but possibly many most important life-preserving human characteristics as well, correct?
Yes, possibly.
Thank you, that will be all.
So the defense attorney wished to cross-examine.
What we realized was that when we became stronger as a team, when we spent all of our time in the classroom with one another, when we learned each other's disciplines, when we gave of our time and our effort and our learning to one another, that the class began to follow suit. And what it's termed as by the people who have seen it at its best is like a marriage or like a dance where two people are working as an ensemble. And that dance then begins to grow, and the marriage becomes a family, and the whole classroom becomes one large circle of learning.
We do plan together, we teach together, we evaluate together, and at the same time we both have separate roles and separate smaller jobs that we do. Some of the basic record keeping, for example, I do, and Charlotte, because of our planning time schedules, is able to do a lot of the things.
Bongo teams are now succeeding in schools outside New York City.
To be at school late or get at school early and some of those kinds of things. It's a job of accommodating and compromising and sharing and learning from each other, which is great. I mean, that's, if you could design a work situation where you can work with another person to do the job, it's really hard to imagine that most people would select to work by themselves.
Well, I mean, I think it's good as a high school student to see any two people disagree that's older than you or in an authoritative position, because you realize that no one can just dictate to you or shouldn't dictate to you.
A lot of times Paul and Terry disagreed on stuff, and they made you think about it. And then since you heard two different opinions, you would have an opinion of your own. You know,
bottle, and then there were all these skeletons coming out of it and around it, and it was a place setting because literally they had a fork and a spoon.
What do you think that meant, Richard?
I thought it meant like the drug problem and the alcohol problem of today.
Oh, well.
And does that mean that that's the right answer?
No.
That's an opinion.
That's the wrong answer.
Right.
It's his own opinion.
Then what was it?
And what if the artist meant something else?
That's what he meant, but when the artist did that, that's why he didn't put like what it was. He wanted it to be whatever it would be to whoever, you know, different things to different people.
In the traditional setting, they try to get you to be responsible through discipline. And I guess the effect that it has on many students is just immediately turn them off, and they become defensive. They just want to defy any authority. Where the environment I found at Middle College and in Bongo especially was you learn, it's basically the opposite. You learn discipline through responsibility.
I happen to have looked at Bongo before or a Bongo presentation before I got the job principal at Murray High School. And during the interview process, the things that had impressed me about Bongo that I stressed during my interview was the interdisciplinary approach, the focus on a product, and the process almost being something that's natural because the kids are looking at developing one first-rate project. The idea of building self-esteem, the feeling of community where every student is important and every student feels important because the group makes them feel that way. And so having interviewed, speaking about those things, as soon as we had a staff, those were the first things that we started to talk about. Is how,
like I said, everything was just great. It was like a totally different aspect of school. Like whereas before I just couldn't be bothered. I was cutting out for like a month at a time and things like that. Whereas now I wanted to go. You know, I'd wake up sick, like with 103 fever, and I was like, but I have to go, Ma. You don't understand, you know.
Thinking of one young lady right now who came in from a drug treatment program. She didn't seem to have any anchors. She just seemed to be all over the place in her entire life. And she got involved in Bongo to the point if you were looking at her and didn't know her, you would say she was very compulsive. In reality, what she was doing for the first time in her life was she was connecting to something that was meaningful. For a long time, she lived and breathed Bongo. It was the thing, once again, that nourished her. She threw herself into the plays, she threw herself into the readings. But what it did was it gave her a very healthy feeling about herself because she was able to achieve, and she was able to achieve in a world that didn't have drugs in it. And eventually she really found herself and did very well as a result of Bongo. And to me, the major thing Bongo did there was it gave her an ego, because it's something she seemed to totally lack before the experience.
But also that success you have there, whether it be in, acting or writing or, whatever you're doing at Bongo, rubs off. It's contagious, and you take it with you to all your other classes, and it causes you to say, take a different interest in things and a different approach. Now you're just talking about your achievement and your self-confidence that gets improved.
And then you get there and you realize the responsibilities of being in that position. You learn the concepts of teamwork, you learn the concepts of patience, you learn the concepts of dealing with people, of compromise.
Bongo, you were also made to feel like a special person, like an individual, not just a number.
Right.
Another student sitting somewhere in your class.
I'd say it stimulated me intellectually, and it gave me a sense of achievement and, self-confidence.
Countless numbers of examples of students who were totally turned off to school, who saw no value in learning, who didn't trust other people or adults or peers, who over a period of time through the Bongo program totally changed their attitudes about themselves, about other people, about learning, and about the value of education. And it really goes to show you what one program that's well thought out, based on sound psychological principles and educational principles, can really do in affecting change. And we have many examples of students who really were on their way out, and now have become very productive, happy members of society.